Prior to the New York Knicks 111-97 win, which saw Julius Randle bounce back, Kendrick Perkins called for the New York Knicks to do something about Randle's bad play. However, now it's a much different video because, as we know, last night, Julius Randle balled out against the Clippers and finally broke out of that slump, as it looks like. So we're going to break this down and sort of respond to what Perkins had to say and talk about all of it. So welcome back to Knicks Digest, guys. My name is Chris. First things first, make sure to subscribe to the channel. 22% of you who are viewing these videos are subscribed. Let's try to get that number up for the Knicks Digest culture, obviously. But for now, let's just jump right into action. Kendrick Perkins said the Knicks have to do something about Julius Randle. Now, the important thing to note is that Perkins did say this before the game against the Los Angeles Clippers. So this was not after Randle put up 27, 10, and 5 on 9 for 21 shooting from the field. This was prior to the game, back when Randle was just not playing well at all. He did not have a singular good game up to that point. And now things have changed. He had a great game against a great defensive team and looked like the Julius Randle of old that we all know and that some love and that some still hate regardless. But that's whatever, not really what we're going to talk about now. Let's break down what Perkins had to say. So he said, well, first, how about trying to pass the ball to one another? That's the first thing Perkins said of the Knicks falling behind at the half. It's too much individual basketball, and it starts with Julius Randle. Not only should Knicks fans be frustrated with the way that he plays the game, but if I'm on his team, I'm frustrated. The thing is, he's not totally wrong, because he's talking about how the Knicks play too much isolation basketball, Julius Randle included. I don't see how Julius Randle playing isolation basketball is good for the Knicks in any way, so I don't disagree with what Perkins is saying here. Obviously, it's a lot easier to say when Randle was shooting his tour dates, but now the fact that he just played a really good game, it's a little harder to say that. And I think it also should be noted that Julius Randle has been pretty successful in the past. It's not like he's always just trying to isolate and is constantly inefficient. No, he's coming off of an all-star season where he made the All-NBA third team. He was playing good basketball, and he just started slow after an ankle injury. I still think the Knicks should go away from isolation basketball, and I too would be upset if I had a teammate who keeps shooting and keeps missing and is isolating and is taking more shots than basically everyone else on the team. But also, you know, it's not like he's been bad for the Knicks historically for the most part. He has been the best player on a New York Knicks team that went to the playoffs, and he was the second best player on the best New York Knicks team in 10 years. So Julius has been great in the past. It's not like he just always shows up every year and is just mid. That's not the case. However, he's not wrong. The Knicks do play too much isolation basketball, and it upsets me. I think it upsets some other fans also, just because there's no need for it, and it's an outdated style of play, especially when you're a power forward like Julius Randle, who maybe should not be isolating as much because it's probably not the best style for him. Now, if you take a look here, obviously, again, before this game, because this is through the first 6 games of the season, minimum 90 field goal attempts. Julius Randle had the second worst field goal percentage in history. The only person below him was Woody Salisbury. If you know who Woody Salisbury is and can tell me what team he played for without looking up, on behalf of Knicks Digest, if you ever see me in person, I will give you a high five, because I'm not allowed to give you money or any gifts like that unless it comes out of my own pocket, and I don't want to pay you guys for knowing who some 1959 NBA player was. I don't know him, and I talk about the Knicks on YouTube. Maybe you guys do. Maybe you're just smarter than me. Who knows? I'm not the sharpest tack anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about all of this. But on a more serious note, when talking about New York Knicks basketball, that's what you're here to talk about, so that's what we're going to talk about. We know Randle played horribly. And I'm trying to make jokes about it to a degree because of how bad Randle was playing and how much of a bummer it was to watch a guy who has been so historically interesting, I'd say, with the Knicks, between the good seasons, the bad seasons, all that. He's done more good than bad for the New York Knicks. He was the first one to bring them out of that playoff drought. I think that was very important in getting Jalen Brunson, was the fact that the Knicks were not in a 10-year playoff drought because Randle stopped that himself. And I don't know if the Knicks would have gotten Jalen Brunson had they just been on a 10-year playoff drought. I really am unsure. I think it was people saw the culture sort of shift a little bit. And a lot of people were aware, okay, well, the Knicks had a bad streak of luck in that 21-22 season. Derrick Rose went down with that ankle injury pretty quickly. And then the Knicks did not have a point guard. They played Alec Burks there. That was not working. Tibbs' coaching was weird. There were no plays being drawn up. For some reason, Alec Burks was inbounding the ball at the ends of games, and everyone knew it would go to Julius Randle because that was the only play. because that was the only play they ran the year before also. So it was clear that there were some issues, and then obviously it would have been harder for the Knicks to sell themselves onto Jalen Brunson when he was first, say, a free agent. Maybe he wouldn't have signed with the Knicks. The Pistons had interest. The Mavs obviously had interest in bringing him back. It would have been a lot harder to tamper for Jalen Brunson if you were the worst team in the NBA that had not made the playoffs in a decade to land him. I just don't know if that would have happened. So you have to give credit where credit is due to Julius Randle. And, I mean, he's had his moments, but then also, as Kendrick Perkins says here, the Knicks have to do something with Julius Randle and his damn ball hogging, God bless America. You also have that part of, the fan base. Obviously, Kendrick Perkins is not a Knicks fan. He's an NBA analyst. I don't see why he would be a Knicks fan. He spent a lot of time on the Celtics. But he's also not a Knicks hater. He's actively marketed that the Knicks have been better than most people are giving them credit for a long time. He was saying that the Knicks were going to be good last year when people were disagreeing with him and calling them a play-in team. Perkins was hyping them up farther. Kendrick Perkins likes to talk about the Knicks because he's been historically correct when predicting stuff in the recent years, which is why he wants to continue having the Knicks be good, because then he gets to seem right. And the whole thing with Kendrick Perkins is every single fan likes to say that Perkins has no idea what he's talking about, which is a lie. That's not true. Perkins does know what he's talking about. But every time he says something smart, 5 minutes later, he might make an outlandish remark that is going to go viral, and then people are going to think that Kendrick Perkins has no idea what he's talking about because they only see those viral moments of Kendrick Perkins saying absolutely ridiculous stuff on par with I Want Iguodala for Max Kellerman, which is the same thing that happened to Max Kellerman also. But essentially, Perkins wants to be right about the New York Knicks and calling them good. So in a way, he's going to be rooting for them to a degree. And again, Randle has been shooting the ball too much. I don't care that he just had a good game. Remember, he had his best game of the season by far last night against the Los Angeles Clippers, who are one of the best defending teams in the NBA when it comes to individual defenders. And Randle put up 27 points. He had 10 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He shot 9 for 21 from the field. That's still not the greatest shooting job ever. Overall, 9 for 21 when you score 27 points is not a bad game at all. It's actually quite a good game. But I don't know. I still don't like that Julius Randle now, with RJ Barrett back, is taking that many shots. RJ has had a better season than him, and I would like to see them sort of incorporate RJ as more of a scorer and Randle as more of a point forward. Something I have said religiously throughout this entire season. I think it would make sense. I think it would take a load off of Julius Randle, who, especially in the playoffs, is going to have to play so many minutes because he is the only true power forward on the New York Knicks. Given we are in an NBA era where almost every single backup power forward is around a 6'6" shooter, so Josh Hart being 6'4" is not that big of a deal. But some people are always going to disagree with that, and depending on matchups, Randle's going to be looking down the barrel of 40-minute per game playoff series because he's one of the few Knicks with actual size. Outside of Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein, Jericho Sims does not play pretty consistently. He actually has hardly ever played this season, which is weird. I thought he would play a little bit more. But because Randle is the best of the Knicks big men, not to the start of the season, it's been Mitchell Robinson, but it will be Julius Randle and still sort of is, if that makes sense. He's going to have to play a lot come playoffs, so I think it would be better if he becomes more of a point forward because it'll cause less burnout than if he's trying to isolate. Nothing is more tiring offensively than isolation basketball. It's one of the many reasons why isolation basketball does not work, especially in the era of transition basketball that we're in, when it's run and gun and shoot a bunch of threes, because the Knicks just don't guard threes. And then they take slow isolation twos with Julius Randle, and I would prefer if he's setting guys like Jalen Brunson up or RJ Barrett up, who's shooting tremendously from three this season. Or just Quentin Grimes, who should be the best shooter on the New York Knicks. Had a nice three last night. I think he had multiple threes. I missed the game for the most part. I was watching the Jets. It was a whole thing. It was a real mistake on my part because the Jets lost horribly. But really, Kendrick Perkins, looking back on this after one good game from Randle, is still not incorrect. We are still looking at Julius Randle having a horrible season despite this one game. I do think Randle's going to turn it around. I think it was important that his real best game of the season, when he finally got the lid off, was against a good team that is supposed to be contending for an NBA Finals championship. So that is super important. Hopefully Randle will get out of his head. He also said he felt the love from the Knicks fans, which is huge because if you look at the New York Knicks Instagram post about Julius Randle, I'd say 90% of it is people saying, yeah, he's getting that trade value up because we're going to trade Julius Randle. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there and we're going to trade that guy. No, you're not. Nope. Knicks aren't trading Julius Randle. It's not happening. Stop saying it. You're wasting your own time. You're wasting other fans' time. He's not going anywhere, but hopefully his role does shift because he does take too long offensively to make moves, and it slows down the offense and stalls things, and Tibbs doesn't mind because that is the offense Tibbs has always ran, and by the offense, I mean Tibbs ran. I mean that Tom Thibodeau does not run an offense. So if Julius Randle decides to slow the game down, he will, and Tibbs is not going to do anything about it because he does not mind freelance isolation offense. So hopefully Randle switches that, and hopefully the New York Knicks keep winning like they did against the Clippers last night. And that is all that we have time for today. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. It means a ton to us. And we're on that grind again, man. Multiple videos a day. We got post games coming. We missed the post game on Friday. That won't happen again. That was an error on my part personally. Dariel did one last night. He's probably going to handle the Spurs one on Wednesday too. So things will be good on that end. And then you'll see me sometime back for post game soon. Things have been busy in my life. Not a big deal. Also, it's my life. You don't get to know. No, I'm just kidding. Have a great day, guys. Remember, go Knicks and subscribe to the channel.